Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 8, publication. Proposed ordinance amending Title V of the Hobbs Municipal Code requiring abortion providers in the city of Hobbs to comply with federal law. Mr. Cortez, please.
It's me again.
Oh, Jen, you sneak it on me.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, city manager, staff, and members of the public. My name is Valerie Chacon, and I serve as the deputy city attorney for the city of Hobbs. And along with me is city attorney Efren Cortez. Before you this evening is publication of the city's proposed ordinance amending Title V, requiring abortion providers in Hobbs to comply with federal law. Before you consider this measure, we would like to show you a brief PowerPoint, as we just did, outlining this ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, city manager, staff, and members of the public. I am Efren Cortez. I serve as the city attorney for the city of Hobbs. Before we begin with the PowerPoint presentation, I'd be remiss if I didn't make this statement. There are those issues wherein people hold very strong opinions. Many times those issues come to you for decisions. The item before you is one such issue. This commission has continually stepped up and made difficult decisions. In the city attorney's office, we have a phrase that we use regularly, and that is, pressure is privilege. It's a sincere privilege to work with you through this issue. And so the item before you this evening is a proposed ordinance enacting measures in which a purported abortion clinic would have to meet in order to obtain a license to operate within the municipal boundaries of the city of Hobbs. You ask yourself, how did we get here? We know that in 1948, the U.S. Congress adopted 18 U.S.C. sections 1461 and 1462. These federal statutes are part of the old obscenity laws and have been on the books federally since 1948. Then fast forward to 1973, and we see that the U.S. Supreme Court decided Roe v. Wade, 14 U.S. 113. And in Roe v. Wade, the U.S. Supreme Court held that there was a constitutional right to an abortion. And then you fast forward to 1992, and the U.S. Supreme Court again took up the abortion question and considered Planned Parenthood versus Casey, 505 U.S. 833, 1992. And again, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that there is a constitutional right to an abortion. And in 2021, here in the state of New Mexico, the New Mexico legislature adopted SB 10. What SB 10 did was it repealed the criminal abortion laws in New Mexico. And a year later, the U.S. Supreme Court again considered the abortion issue. This time, the U.S. Supreme Court held that there is no constitutional right to an abortion and overruled Roe and Casey. So when we consider abortion in the U.S. Constitution, we see that Roe v. Wade in 1973 held that there is a right to privacy stemming from the First, Fourth, Fifth, Ninth, and 14th Amendments combined. In Planned Parenthood versus Casey in 1992, the U.S. Supreme Court said it's not a right to privacy, rather it's a liberty interest, and that liberty interest is protected by the 14th Amendment due process clause. And fast forward to 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization ruled that both Roe and Casey were wrong and that there is no constitutional right to an abortion. What about New Mexico laws? As I stated on the second slide of the PowerPoint, in 2021, the New Mexico legislature passed Senate Bill 10. Senate Bill 10 repealed New Mexico's criminal abortion statutes, and those were outlined in New Mexico statutes annotated 1978, sections 30-5-1 to 30-5-3. However, the New Mexico legislature did not supplement the law with any provisions in any way regulating abortions or abortion providers. So then when we ask ourselves, what are the requirements for abortion providers outlined in the law? I believe through my research, that question is unanswered. The Public Health Act, New Mexico Statutes Annotated 1978, Section 24-1-2, does not list an abortion clinic or an abortion provider as a health facility under subsection F, health facilities. There are those health facilities such as hospitals, clearly. There are also freestanding birth centers listed, adult daycare facilities, nursing homes, etc., but not abortion clinics. Why is that important? Because the Department of Health regulates health facilities. And they put in place regulations wherein health facilities protect or look out for the health, safety, and welfare of those being treated. They do that via requirements set forth in the New Mexico Administrative Code. That is 7.1.7. Importantly, 7.1.7.8 of the New Mexico Administrative Code states that strict compliance is required of health facilities subject to these regulations. So it begs the question, what if a health facility or a provider is not subject to these regulations because they are not listed under the statute as a health facility? So we move forward. More importantly and more germane to the conversation this evening, we talk about local businesses. So it begs the question, can the city of Hobbs regulate businesses? And I would submit to you that the legislature has authorized the city of Hobbs to regulate businesses, and that authorization is outlined in 3-38-1, licensing business activities. And as you can see, the city of Hobbs, as a home rule municipality, can require a separate license for each business, and it can require that businesses obtain a license prior to conducting business in the city of Hobbs. Moving on to the proposed ordinance. The proposed ordinance does not outright ban abortions in Hobbs, New Mexico. It does not outright protect abortions in Hobbs, New Mexico. It does not contradict state law, and it does not contradict federal law. What it does is it requires the operator of an abortion clinic to obtain a license in order to operate in the city of Hobbs. What it does is it requires the operator of an abortion clinic to abide by federal law. And what it does is it gives the commission the authority to issue, revoke, and reconsider a license to operate within the city of Hobbs. The proposed abortion clinic ordinance has 9 subsections. The first is the purpose, then we have the definition, then we have abortion license required. Under 5.52040, we have abortion license application. Under 050, we have license issuance or refusal. Under 060, we have license period of validity, revocation, and appeal. Under 070, we have compliance with federal abortion laws required. Under 080, we have severability, and under 090, we have effective date. What's the purpose? The purpose is important for purposes of this ordinance because we are impacting business. The purpose of this ordinance is to preserve the integrity of the local medical profession by ensuring compliance with applicable law. Very simply stated. As you can see on your screen, 5.52.020 sets forth definitions under this ordinance. And you can see that the definitions contain the definition of abortion, but also contain the exceptions. In other words, what is not an abortion? And to Mr. Townsend's point during public comment, you can see that in vitro fertilization or fertility treatments of any type are not considered abortions for purposes of this ordinance. The use, prescription, administration, procuring, or selling of Plan B, morning after pills, intrauterine devices, or any other type of contraception or emergency contraception is not an abortion under this ordinance. The act performed with the purpose to save the life or preserve the health of the unborn child is not an abortion under this ordinance. The act performed with the purpose to remove a dead unborn child caused by spontaneous abortion is not an abortion under this ordinance. The act performed with the purpose to remove an ectopic pregnancy, the implantation, of a fertilized egg or embryo outside of the uterus are not abortions under this ordinance. So let's talk about the application. So the application requirement simply requires that the applicant affirm 6 items. Those items are the name of the person or business entity requesting the license, the mailing address and phone number of the person or business entity requesting the license, the location, in other words, a street address and legal description of the property for which the license is requested, the map or a map attached to the application which shows the location proposed and existing improvements such as buildings, fences, etc., and the relationship of the location to nearby streets, residential housing, public buildings such as churches, schools, etc., public utilities, and the like. Proposed activity, a brief narrative describing the activities planned at the location, including the types of abortions to be performed, and compliance statement, a statement to the effect that the applicant or its representative, if a business entity, is aware of the regulations contained in this chapter that require compliance with federal abortion laws, and that it will comply with those requirements of federal law as set forth in section 5.52.070. So let's talk about federal law. 18 U.S.C. section 1461 and section 1462, which I previously referenced at the very beginning of this presentation, was adopted early on in the 1940s and has not been repealed by the U.S. Congress since. Even post-Roe, it was not repealed by the U.S. Congress. And so section 5.52.070 simply outlines what's in existing federal law. Those federal statutes prohibit the transfer via U.S. mails of any article, instrument, substance, drug, medicine, or thing which is advertised or described in a manner calculated to lead another to use or apply it for producing abortions. They also prohibit the express carrying or receiving via express company of any drug, medicine, article, or thing designed, adapted, or intended for producing an abortion. So again, and I must emphasize, the city of Hobbs is not the enforcement entity for federal law. However, the city of Hobbs is the enforcement entity for business licensing, business revocation, business license denial, and enforcement of the like. And so with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Questions or comments from the commission?
I would like to make a motion to approve and adopt this ordinance.
Do we have a motion from Commissioner Pennick? Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
And Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I will clarify, I need to ask that this is motion for publication of the ordinance, correct?
Yes. Do we have anyone in the room?
No, and Mayor Cobb, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Commissioner Pennick, how do you vote?
I vote yes, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.